Welcome to the lecture for Psych 350. My name is Dr. Sam Fiala. I'll be your instructor for this undergraduate class in personality. A couple things about course interactions. As you've probably already guessed, the instruction for this course will primarily be given through recorded video lectures where I narrate over PowerPoints. I'll provide to you in Blackboard the PowerPoints for each lecture, which you can then add your own notes to as you're listening along. Strongly encourage you to have a reliable internet connection if you wish to complete this course. If you don't have a reliable internet connection, I suggest you either get one or think seriously about dropping this course and taking it in a face-to-face manner. Not having reliable internet is not a valid excuse for not completing assignments or assessments on time in this course. It is a fully online course, and so you're expected to have that access to be in such a course. If you don't have it at home, make plans to come up to the university and use the computers there. There will be some required peer interaction in this course, which I'll discuss on the next slide when I talk about assignments. I hope you'll all be respectful and appropriate in those interactions. No violations of the student code of conduct that I have to worry about, I appreciate. You're also welcome to use the discussion boards for other peer interactions that aren't required. If you just have some thoughts about course material or some questions that you would like to address to your peers, I'll create a space for you to do that. And again, those spaces are to be used for course relevant information only, not for soliciting goods or services, selling Girl Scout cookies or Boy Scout, whatever the Boy Scouts sell, I don't know, candy bars. But for things talking about the course, or hey, I got booted out of this quiz, did anybody else get booted out of it? Sure, you can put that there. Of course, if you do get booted out of a quiz, you're best off contacting me and doing that at my tmuct.edu email address, which is on your syllabus. I won't be having regular office hours up on campus this summer. This is the only online course I'm teaching. If we do need to meet face-to-face, we can schedule a time to do that on campus, but I will be available to meet with you. We can use chat function in Blackboard, or the Camtasia with the video camera thing, or arrange a phone call if needed as well, if we can't get things, whatever we need to get done via email, which usually we're able to do. What you'll be doing in the course, the major assignment, I guess, would be the character study assignment. And this is where you're going to choose a fictional character from movies, books, video games, mythology, whatever, just as long as it's not a real person, but does have some supporting material. So not just, I'm going to do mine on Charlie, my imaginary best friend. No, you can pick some Charlie that's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, whoever that is, where there's some source material where I can say, okay, yeah, I get what you're talking about. I can read that book, watch that movie, and know who you're talking about. So a real fake character, if you will. And what you're going to do for this assignment is, first you're going to complete some assessments for your character, where you're going to answer these assessments that are in your textbook. There's a whole series of them, and I've got a handout that will be on Blackboard that tells you which ones you need to do, what pages they're on. And basically you're going to fill out these assessments in the voice of, from the point of view of, the character you choose. And that's going to generate data for each of these assessments, these scales, and you can tell if that character is high or low or average on whatever that scale is measuring. And so you're going to turn those data in. I've got a form that you'll fill out, and then you'll turn that in as part of the assignment, but then you'll also use those data to write, create a personality profile, to write a personality report about your character. And I've got much more detailed instructions and a rubric for this assignment that's going to be on Blackboard. It tells you exactly what I'm looking for, and there are certain sections of the profile that I'll be wanting you to address. I'd even give you some hints about which assessments, information from which assessments kind of addresses which section of the report. Hopefully that's something you'll find interesting and enjoyable. Students often do report that it's one of the more interesting assignments they have. A related assignment will be a peer personality profile, where you'll be creating a much less in-depth profile. In the character study, it's fairly in-depth, lots of different categories, and also kind of how they got to be the way they are. The peer personality profile is not that in depth. I don't want you probing too much your peers, but I will assign you all to pairs. You'll partner up with somebody where you're going to interview them, they'll interview you, and you'll basically create a personality profile from a trait perspective using the big 5 personality traits: OCEAN: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, which you'll read about in the book before too long here. And really, for the profile, it's going to be pretty simple. It's just, are they high, low, or average on each of those 5 traits? And so at the end, you're going to say, okay, yeah, they're high on openness, and I conclude this because, and then 2 or 3 or 4 things that they said that you learned from them that let you know that they're high on openness or low on openness, whatever it is. So this is going to require you to do some sort of interview, which you can do synchronously, so you can meet up face to face. The library is a good place to do it. Certainly, in any kind of online, any interaction that starts online that becomes face to face, that face to face action should be in a public place for everyone's safety. A library is a good place to do that, and you can do it like that. You can use the chat function in Blackboard. I'll set up some, see if I can try to figure out how to set up some chat rooms, and then I can. I can't remember if you can access the transcripts, but I know I can, and I can email it to you so you can see the transcript of your chat. Or you can do it asynchronously, where you just email your partner the questions, they email you answers back, and you email follow-up questions, and they email you up answers to the follow-ups. However you want to do it, but you will turn into me, in addition to that conclusion part where they're high, low, whatever on these traits, you also turn in your transcript of your interview, or basically the questions and the answers. I want to see that you're able to ask good questions and not just, so are you high on openness and low on neuroticism? No, you can't. That's cheating. You have to ask questions that anybody could answer that's not in a personality class, that based on how they answer, it's going to tell you some information about those traits. Okay, and again, you can't just ask, well, tell me about yourself, and expect them to spill their guts. You need to ask closed-ended, fairly focused questions, so that I can see by the way you're asking questions that you know what these traits are and you know how to ask about them. You know how to assess someone's personality. Okay. Feel free to, you can probably find a bunch of personality assessments online, big 5 personality assessments. I wouldn't recommend using those. You're more than welcome to look at those to help guide you in creating your own questions. But one of the things you'll be graded on is the originality, the creativity of your questions. So if you just use questions that somebody else put on a like Goldberg's whatever measure of personality, I know all those measures and I'll recognize them, and you're not going to get points for that. Okay. But so anyway, there'll be detailed instructions on Blackboard about that personality profile. Chapter quizzes, you need to do all of these. There'll be 1 quiz for each chapter. You get 1 shot at it. You need to complete it by Friday, 11:59 p.m. the week it's assigned. And I try to make as many of the questions as I can applied in nature and not simply regurgitating information from the text. Sometimes you've got to throw in a couple of those questions. But again, I try to push for more applied questions, and whenever I can, to help you think about the material, which is good for your learning, I believe, in the long run. And also, just so you know, the questions you see on these chapter quizzes, when you go to take the final exam, some of them may look familiar. They may be fairly similar. I'm just saying, do well in the chapter quizzes, but also pay attention to the questions, and you'll start to learn how I ask questions, the types of information that I'm looking for. Because I'm going to be looking for that same type of information and asking about it in the same type of way when it gets to the final exam. Okay, now you got to do all the chapter quizzes, but the article quizzes you don't have to do all of. You're certainly welcome to, and I encourage you to do all of them. But you only be graded on your top 3 scoring article quizzes. So you could have 3 perfect ones and then not do the rest. I don't recommend that, but it's certainly your prerogative, and it will in no way negatively impact your grade in the course, or probably how I feel about you personally. Anyhow, do at least 3 of those well, and you're going to be in good shape. Again, you're welcome to do as many of them as you like. I can't remember how many there are. I think maybe 6 or 7, maybe even 8. But you only need to do 3. Be graded on your top 3, which Blackboard can't say, oh, okay, I'm just going to grade you in your top 3. So when Blackboard does your point totals, it's going to total all of them. So your point total that Blackboard creates may not be accurate if you do more than 3 article quizzes. The final exam will be on July 29th. It'll be available pretty much all day from midnight that morning to 11:59 that night. You won't have 24 hours to work on it. You have 24 hours in which to begin it. Once you begin, you'll have 3 hours to complete it. It'll be a series of multiple choice questions that are very much like the chapter quizzes, and then a couple of essays that are very much applied, where I'm asking you, okay, from the point of view of this theory, or pick a theory, or pick 2 theories to comment on this scenario that I just described. That type of thing. I'll give you some more details on that as we get closer. Again, the deadlines for most things are going to be 11:59 p.m. on Friday nights, the weeks they're assigned. The quizzes won't be available after their deadlines, so you can't do those late. If you miss it, you missed it. You can't get those points back. I'm sorry. So do try to make sure and knock those out on time. For the other assignments, the character study, the assessment part, the profile, the peer personality profile, those things will also be due on Fridays by 11:59. If you turn those in late, not that big a deal. I will take some points off, 10% per day, I think for up to 3 days. 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, all of those, it's 30% off. 1 day is 10%, 2 days 20%. But after 7 days, no credit can be given. So if it's going to be a little late, that's fine. You lose a couple of points, but still turn it in. Better than no points. A little bit about this course. I do think it's a great introduction to some big ideas, and probably a lot of the ideas are things that you've already some familiarity with. You're like, oh yeah, I've heard that, I know that. Hopefully there'll be some new things as well. And even if you've heard of all these things, hopefully there'll be some new connections among these ideas. But we certainly don't have the time to go in depth in any of these ideas. So you will probably not be able to consider yourself a personality expert or an expert in Freudian perspective or the behavioral perspective after completing this 8-week course. But hopefully it will kind of plant some seeds, create some fertile ground for whenever you're learning. You'll see these ideas again in other courses. You're like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar, and you can build upon what you learn here, and hopefully what you are learning here will be building on, adding on to what you've learned in other courses, like your intro psych course, if you've taken one of those. I do think that some of the frameworks, the ideological frameworks presented in this class can be helpful for any career that involves human interaction. Obviously, I think it's helpful for people that are involved in counseling or psychotherapy. It's helpful to be able to conceptualize people's difficulties and also their successes from a theoretical point of view. It gives you some language to use when talking to other professionals, and also talking to yourself, thinking about how best to help a person. But even other careers that aren't so clinical in nature, that involve human interaction, like if you're in a consulting firm on a team, understanding, okay, this person, they're high in achievement motivation. That may be really important to be able to apply that idea in that context. If you don't know what achievement motivation is yet, you will after taking this course. I do think the compressed time frame in this course is a challenge. This is a lot of information to cram into 8 weeks. And I don't think it's realistic that you're going to retain everything that you read and hear in this course. But again, hopefully enough of it will sink in that it'll be familiar as you come across it again and again, because these aren't kind of edge of the field ideas. These are kind of central core ideas that you should encounter repeatedly when studying psychology or anything in this area. A little about me. I'm a clinical psychologist, my master's and PhD in clinical psychology with an emphasis on child psychology at Texas A&M University in College Station. Recently earned tenure and promoted to associate professor this summer, April. I just figured that out. So I'll be around here for a while. I serve as the practicum internship director for are graduate programs that have that are applied. So clinical mental health, marriage and family therapy, specialist in school psychology, school counseling. All of those, when you're in those master's and specialist programs, you do your coursework, and then eventually you have field work where you go out and work with clients. And I kind of help coordinate and oversee that aspect of those graduate programs. So if you're interested in any of those applied graduate programs and have questions, be glad to talk to you about them. I'm not connected to any one particular program, so I've got no vested interest in pushing you into one program over another. I've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, and so the kids and dogs will be home with me this summer. So as I'm recording these lectures, if you hear noise in the background, I won't be surprised because it's a pretty noisy house usually. And also, when students say, "Oh yeah, it's just so busy," yeah, I get it. I'm right there with you. And I wish I could extend deadlines and give you points for how busy you are, but ultimately I can't do that. Just like in my own work, whenever if I fall short and miss deadlines, well, I was busy. Yeah, there's still usually consequences to those things, even when the things happen maybe a little bit beyond your control. So just want to let you know, I get it. Last, key to success in this course: try to work ahead, maybe a week ahead as soon as possible, even half a week, because typically there's 2 chapters per week. If you can get just 1 chapter ahead of the syllabus, it'll help you, because inevitably at some point in the next 8 weeks, something's going to happen where your computer's going to get a virus. Knock on wood, hopefully this doesn't happen to you. Or it's gonna you'll break your screen like I've done so many times, or your kids will get sick, you'll get sick, you'll go on vacation. Something will happen where you won't have access to the course and won't be able to engage in course material for a period of time. And if you build up a little bit of buffer, then you're going to be able to ride that out and not be hurt in terms of missing points. So I'm going to try to get as much stuff up as I can so you can work ahead. I don't encourage you to work ahead much more than a week, because then you're probably going at a pace that's too fast and you're not going to be retaining really anything. But if you can do half a week to a week ahead, I think that's a good idea. As I said earlier, I'll just reiterate: turn everything in, even if it's going to be late. Better than not turned in at all. Again, unless it's more than 7 days, then well, no point at that point. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days late, sure, turn it in. And I know sometimes students, they get anxious, it seems, about turning in late work. Well, I don't want to turn it in late. No, it's late, and I'm not quite done, and I don't want to turn in this crappy product because then you're going to think I'm an idiot. No, I'm not going to think you're an idiot. I'll think you're an idiot if you don't turn it in. If you turn in a crappy product, I go, "Oh yeah, this is a crappy product," and you'll say, "Yeah, I got a lot going on." Like, "Oh, I get it. I'm still going to grade you probably pretty harshly, but grading you harshly still, if you get a 50 on something, that's way better than a 0. And again, I'm not going to think less of you if you turn in some sort of inferior product that's not up to your standards. Still, better than not getting those points at all. Try to apply the course material when thinking about yourself and others. If you do so you're reading about cardinal traits. You think, okay, what's my cardinal trait? I wonder what so-and-so's cardinal trait is. When you think about course material and you apply it to your own self and to people kind of ego-relevant information, you tend to process it more deeply. You're going to remember it better when it comes to the test and other courses, and you're also going to figure out what you don't understand. So, well, what's my cardinal trait? And you go, oh crap, what is a cardinal trait? I don't know. I don't understand that. You can go back and read it again. So once you can apply it to yourself and to others then you probably have comprehended enough to be able to do well in the course. Finally, if you need to, get a rabbit's foot, 4-leaf clover, horseshoe, sacrifice some animals, whatever it is you need to do to pump up your luck a little bit. I recommend doing it because, again, with the compressed time frame of this online course, if you get unlucky and something negative happens in your life, it can really be a significant impediment to doing well academically in this course, given that there's not that recovery time that you can have in a long semester. Well, yeah, I was sick for a week and I missed some stuff, but I can catch back up. 8-week course, you miss a week, oof, you're going to be hard pressed to get through it. So, good luck to you all. I look forward to working with you this summer and seeing you around campus in the future.